Welcome back. We're back on the Volvo again. We are having issues with our EGR valve, which is apparently a common problem with D5 engines. I've done some pinpointing. That's the reason why there is a connector block at the moment, because I disconnected the sensor just to make sure this is not the issue. The problem lies in this unit here. I got a second-hand one. Just arrived today, and the plan is only changing the electronics, but so that's the unit. It's from a C30 D5, doesn't really matter. It's this part, you can take that off, 4 screws and it's off. Pinout is the same, and what it does, you see that plunger inside, which is cokey as well, and that's just a little cover plate. So this moves inwards via this motor. This motor has some plastic gears here, so yeah, there might be an issue with the motor. Apparently you can take it out, so you take the plastic cover off. I had it apart already, so on the car, so I know what's in it. So you take the plastic cover off, and there is a little gearbox, and the motor is actually controlled via this. It's not a straightforward thing. It seems to be a precision control thingy, I don't know. And the plan is now just plugging this unit in and see if the fault has gone or not. If the fault disappears with a new unit, we know it's a unit problem, which I strongly believe, because I took the electronics off and moved the sensor, and the position doesn't change, so it's very likely an issue with the electronics. You can buy these units, they are £150, $180 or so. Mine looks a bit split, this one as well here, I don't know, we'll see if it works. So the plan is plug it in, delete the fault, and but we need to clean that first, just to make sure it's not cruddy, so it does, because it's supposed to move inwards, and it's a bit cruddy, so we just want to make sure we're not destroying the plastic gears. I'll show you later how it looks inside, because I'm just gonna change the internals here. I'm not gonna change the whole thing, because this is a big job. These bolts here are very, very difficult to access. They're Torx bolts, and they are super tight. That's where the EGR cooler goes. So the engine block is here, and you don't really want to change that thing. They cleaned it fairly okay. It wasn't super expensive. This is the solenoid for the EGR cooler bypass. That needs checking as well, if there's some air leaks or something. We'll get to that in a minute. Alright, so that's the plan for now. So let's go to the car and see what the fault is. So that's what we're getting. We get EGR position sensor faulty signal and EGR control qualifier unknown, which is 4450 and 44D0. If I bridge that with a resistor, the qualifier unknown disappears, so I assume that there is a problem with the feedback sensor. It's just a little plunger with a hole sensor inside. If I delete the faults, the oil sensor, don't worry about the oil sensor, it's always coming on because it thinks there's too much oil in it, but it's not. So you delete them. Power cycle it, and it comes straight back. So it's the same. The problem is persistent. The engine warning light is on, and you get a message: engine service required. And if you run it and look at the actuator position, you can see, I don't know if it's visible on the screen, but you can see it says EGR is 100%, and you can't really cycle it because there's a fault. So EGR valve, if you try to cycle it, it sits on 5.1%. It needs a few parameters, especially the faults have to be gone, otherwise you can't really do it. So yeah, if you go back to the faults and read them again, still persistent. So that's our problem. So now we're going to give that a little bit of a clean so it's moving freely, and then we are trying to plug the other one in. If that works, we know the fault is actually with the unit. We need to figure out if it's the motor or the sensor, but I'm pretty sure it's the sensor unit. Okay, so now if we look now, we got 0.5% and we got some movement here. So if we cycle that, we can hear it's moving. And you can hear something there. So yeah, it's doing something. Look into the valve, it should be open now. It doesn't go back. You can see it's open now. There's some light shining through. So the fault is gone. Yeah. Because the other one is sitting on 5% all the time. So we're good. We know the sensor is faulty. So if we stop it, it goes back to 1% ish. It's a bit cruddy, so not the cleanest. And it's closed. Yeah. So what it needs, it just needs a clean. There's some plastic gears inside, and I'm pretty sure it runs better now. So no fault is coming. Sorry for the shaky camera, but if you run around back and forward, that's what it is. So it's producing boost now. There was no boost pressure before, so no errors. Okay, good. We know what the problem is. All right. Okay, you could hear the turbocharger was spooling up, and there was some. I think I got a slight air leak somewhere. I could hear that. Okay, so we know our unit is faulty. There was some funny noise recently. Maybe the gears are stripped. So that means dismantling the whole thing. To get better access, you're going to take the airbox out, because you can actually take it away if you take the MAF sensor cable out of that bracket. You can tuck it away to get there, but yeah, it's difficult to access. And if you look here, you can see the EGR cooler on the back here, and these screws are here on this flange down there where my finger is. It's just, you don't want to get there. It's just so bad. I have another one on order. Oh, it's coming. It was cheap, very cheap. I think it's from an older car, but it doesn't matter, because it came with a throttle body, which is this one here. This is the throttle actuator, basically just a flap which shuts off the engine. And but I think, I don't know if I got the round or the square cooler. I don't know. I think it's a round one. There's some models got a round cooler, EGR cooler, and some cars got a square rectangular cooler. So but you don't want to take it out. It's a mess to do that. It's a lot of work. It's all behind that stuff here, and yeah, no, you're not interested. Okay, we know we diagnosed it right. because now the sensor position makes sense. Before it didn't. All I have to do is resolder these wires, because I took it out and put some resistors in, tried to fudge the position so I could run, because I had to drive about 300 miles. So I drove in limp mode, which gives me an acceleration time probably up to 60 in whatever 30 seconds. Uphill it does barely 40 miles an hour, which is a bit of a pain, but I had no choice. The Jeep is not ready at the moment because I need to change the exhaust. It's falling off. Yeah, that's what it is. Everything comes together. Okay, yeah, let's work on this one. I think we take the unit off, we take the cover off, so that the electronics part off, and check if the motor is still okay. You can take it out, it's all plastic. That's the plan for now. Let's do that. To get access to the whole thing, you need to pull the intercooler hose and slacken that off at least a few millimeters, otherwise you can't get past that throttle body. But we're gonna take it out anyway because it needs a bit of a clean. I cleaned it about 2 years ago, not 2 years, 1.5 years ago, just after I got the car, and it was full of crud. There's, you can see there's still a bit of shit coming from the intercooler. Yeah, that needs cleaning. It's not as much as it was, but while you're there, just clean it. It's a bit of a messy job. Everything is black, but that's what it is. It's a diesel. Okay, yeah, you can take the body off. Just pull the connector down here. You need both sides, so pull the connector out. So here we have the throttle body. It's not too bad. I cleaned it on Sunday when a little bit. I just wiped it clean, but yeah, it needs a bit of proper cleaning. It's worth it. So let's put that aside for now. And that's your EGR valve. And the reason is that pipe is in the way and it's hard to get it out, so you need to get to this bolt here. It's easy now. These bolts are Torx. They can be very stiff because of corrosion, dissimilar metal corrosion, because it's aluminium and steel. When I put them together, I always oil them. So now you can pull the unit off here, and that's how it looks inside. So this is the electronics unit. This is the position sensor, which doesn't work on mine at all. And this is the stepper motor. How this gets apart, I don't know. It feels a bit jammed actually, so we need to see if this is actually moving or not. If it's not moving, the motor is fucked. I think this just comes out because it just looks being. It's just pushed in, so can it get out? I don't know. I need to figure that out. I have no idea right now. So here it is. So this is basically just a little lever which makes some sort of eccentric movement, and there is a possibility that there's something jammed, but we need to check that first, because otherwise we're gonna kill the electronics unit again. So these two holes, sorry for the angle, but these two holes are actually the connectors for the motor, which is this one. And if this thing is out here, you probably can push it in against, well, take the spring out, and then you can pull the motor. So we need to check if that's moving or not. Sorry for the angle, but that's the best you can get here. Alright, so that's the plan for now. So we just verified that the thing is actually moving, so it's free, which is good. That means we may just need to change the electronics, because the plunger moves nicely. What I found is some smoke-ish residue here, so I think this thing is leaking a little bit on the. Oh it goes through this. So yeah, it's moving okay, so we just need to clean it. What you also can see is here some corrosion products. That means there's water getting into it. There are gaskets for the electronics here, but not for the sensor itself, so it's probably worth, at least at the top, to put some gasket material or at least some grease on there. Yeah, I'm tempted to put the other cover on it and see if it moves. It's probably worth it, because yeah, everything seems to be moving. So by looking at this has even more corrosion here. Look at that. That's the bottom. I think this is actually worse than mine, but the electronics are good. And the motor moves really hard, so it may have a broken gear, but the sensor is good. So we cleaned that out. Put a little bit of grease on the corner, just to make sure it's... And there is some smoke residue as well, so we give that a good clean. Put it back on the unit and see if it cycles. We cleaned that before because we need to plug it in to make it, otherwise there is an error and it won't cycle. But this is really stiff, but the motor moved it, so it's okay. So everything back together, cleaned the throttle body a little bit. Electronics is on it. When you put the screws in, put a bit of grease on the screws, so if you need to take it out again, it's easier. Right, let's see if it moves. I'll find out in a second. So we connected again, so let's check for faults. No faults so far. Let's see if we can activate it. It's sitting on 0.5%, so I can hear it. Yeah, it's quick. The other one was a lot slower. So, because I cleaned the inside a little bit, so the other one is a bit sticky, I could actually see that. So, yeah, that's fine. So that seems to work now. Let's run it. EGR valve is this one, where the mouse pointer is, so 80%. If I put some throttle on, so we got 79% air and the rest is... So these two numbers need to give 100%, because this is the amount of air and this is the amount of EGR technically. So as soon as you floor it, it closes it, and that's exactly what it does. So I like that. Okay, let's check for faults. Looks good. So maybe we fixed it. We'll do a test drive later on and see how it behaves, but I think it's okay. I need to solder these wires back together, but that's not my major concern at the moment. More important is that the stuff works again. So let's take it for a spin and see if we have some power. Alright, we're going for a quick spin. The blue one is the EGR position. Just driving backwards here, make sure I'm not hitting anything here, and so now the blue one is the EGR and the green one is the boost pressure. So yeah, let's do something. Appears to have some power. Sorry for the shaky one here. Out of here. Traffic coming. Sorry, I'm on a main road here, so there's always some traffic. Okay, let's get out of here. Oh yeah. Okay. Let's see what it does. It's 40 miles an hour here, so gotta be careful. And looking good so far. So let's drive down the road a little bit and go to our racetrack here. Engine is warm, so we can trash it. Behaving okay. About 60 miles an hour. Not too bad. And it wasn't even full throttle, so but by the look at it, it's behaving okay. Alright. Let's turn around somewhere. I'm off the throttle now. But looking good so far. Alright, let me turn around and we'll be back. So, let me get over the bridge here and see what it does. Sorry, wrong gauge. Right gauge here. So I'm coming here. So looks alright to me. Looks alright to me, so a little bit of our scenery here. Trying to stick to the speed limits, and if we look at the gauge here, looks pretty good to me. Alright, that's it from the EGR valve, and good grunt now. Happy with that. Much better than before, I got the feeling at least. So maybe that was stuck open somehow because the sensor was playing up. Right. Oh, nearly back home. Oh dear. Turn around. Alright. That's it from the EGR valve. I have 2 hands for driving. Okay, all what's left is the let's have a look at the graph first. So, right. So this looks pretty good actually, at least to me. Stop that. Yeah, looks good to me. So at least it's live, because before it wasn't really moving, but now it seems to be alright. Okay, that's it so far. Maybe it's of some help for someone. It was a bit of a journey because I tried to basically try to figure out what's wrong with the actuator or the sensor, but apparently it was just a sensor, because that plastic part is the electronics with the sensor. The motor is underneath. So the motor is fine, the plunger is fine, everything moves, and apparently the sensor was destroyed, died, whatever. I have no idea what's wrong with it, but it works. Okay, that's it from this one. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Until next time. No faults. That's fine, I like that. It won't stay long because the oil level will come back and eventually something else. I think I got an intermittent temperature sensor again. I think it's the cabling, because it looks a bit odd. Someone pulled on it, but that's not a problem. It disappears. You're a bit stumped if you don't have the Volvo software. It's just it's a 2007 model. 52448. It's 180 horsepower, 2.4 diesel, 5-cylinder, and it's got less power in the V50. I don't know why. Probably because the intercooler is a bit smaller. The V70 it has 185 horsepower, and it's also torque restricted in the lower gears because the ISIN AW 55-51 gearbox can't handle a torque at the bottom end. So I think it's flatline at 350 Newton meters or so. The mapping is different than on a manual. Anyway, the engine itself is pretty much the same as the later one, Euro 4 engines, with the EGR stuff on it. The older one, 163 horsepower, has less of this crap in it. But that's the price you pay for emission stuff. Alright, anyway, that's it from this one. Happy it works. We'll see how long. But I'll get another one tomorrow, just in case. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Until next time.